Today's video is sponsored by Track Club. You can use the link in the description to get a free trial. Hello YouTube family and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join me on the journey to capturing life's moments and get better at shooting inspiring photos and capturing amazing video. Today we're going back to the basics with essential tips for all you photography beginners out there. So everyone is different and we all learn differently, but I think that these tips here are very easy to get a grasp of and to implement right off the bat, and I will guarantee you will see progress in your own work very fast if you implement these tips. So let's talk lenses first. The lens you choose can make or break your image. You have probably heard that taking good photos is not just about the camera body. A good lens is your gateway to clarity, depth, and those beautiful bokeh effects that we all love. And many of us start out buying a camera with a kit lens. And while a kit lens isn't that bad as the reputation it has, I think it's a great idea for you to get a good lens for your camera body with a focal length that you like, because this will also help you motivate you to actually go out and use your camera. So if we're talking Sony APC cameras, I would consider the 55mm OSS, which I think is a cheap but really great lens that gives you the classic 50mm look that is really useful for like street photography, but also for taking portraits or even doing product photos. And this is just a mid-range focal length that is really versatile if you ask me. So for full frame I would go for the 50mm 1.8 if you need a really cheap but great photo lens, or I would consider the 55mm 1.8 if you want a fantastic lens for video but also for street photography and portraits. But I made a dedicated video about my lens choices for full frame that you can watch right here after this one, or you can go down in the description where I also will link to the video. And I will also link to the lenses I talked about here if you want to go and check them out. Now let's step outside. But wait, before you click away, remember, not all light is created equal. Harsh midday sun can cast unwanted shadows, and the dark of night can leave you with grainy images or shaking looking footage. And let's not even start on gray dull days. And the key here is that timing is everything. And I remember like 10-12 years ago, I had got a new camera, and we're talking about a Nikon DSLR here. I think it was the D5000 that I bought used. And I was so happy and excited with my new camera, and I took it out in the mid of a sunny day. And yeah, the sun was coming down really hard, so everything was really washed out and there was no contrast at all when I took photos with the camera. And of course, not really having a plan or idea about what I was going to photograph didn't help me either. But I remember looking at the photos and thinking, is this really all I got with my new full frame camera? And it actually took me some time to realize how much the weather or the light affects the look of your photos. So in the beginning, try to stay away from difficult lighting conditions. And yes, this means trying to shoot at golden hour or blue hour, or perhaps partly cloudy weather. And this leads to the next point. Practice, practice, practice. And yes, it is a cliche, but it's true. Try to shoot something every day. You can even just do it with your phone, but I encourage you to do it with your camera, of course. And just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all about training your eyes to see the world through your lens and capture it one day at a time. And you could do like a 365 photo challenge, which can also be a motivation, and it gives you a clear chance to see the progress you make each and every day you take a photo. And talking about looking at photos and looking at progress, the next tip is about making mistakes, because mistakes are your best teacher. So what I recommend is that you take photos that you have taken that you really like, then you take them apart. What works in the photo, what doesn't? Then you try to learn, adapt and grow. And you can also do this with other photographers' photos. Try to analyze the photos and try to see what is working with this photo that might not be a thing that you are doing in your photo. Because photography is as much about seeing as it is about clicking. So try to analyze your own work compared to work you like, and try to understand why you like a certain photo and think about what you can improve to take similar photos. And this kind of leads back to my little story with my Nikon camera, because I didn't do any thought process about what I wanted to capture before heading out that sunny day. So I just snapped some photos and I really didn't like the result. And today, here, 12, perhaps even 14 years after, when I go out and do street photography, I have a really clear idea in my head of what kind of photos that usually looks good. And then of course I also improvise along the way as different opportunities come along. But this has to do with practice leading into experience and actually looking at photos to get inspired and incorporate aspects alike into my own workflow. And I still do this today, of course. And to give another example that might not be for the beginners at first, but if I go out and do a client shoot, I always take time to go and study photos and get inspiration of what the client wants, so I don't turn up without a plan and just try to cut corners. And in Danish we call this like springe over hvor gærdet er lavest, which roughly translates into jump over where the fence is lowest. And though it might be tempting to jump over where the fence is lowest, actually taking some time to prepare and put time into coming up with ideas before you go out with your camera in your hands usually gives much better results. And although you're just taking photos for fun, if you want to get better and if you want to be happy with the photos you come up with, then I highly recommend actually taking some time off to prepare yourself to when you go out. And last but not least, know your gear. And this of course seems really obvious, but your camera is a treasure trove of tools waiting to be explored. And this can seem really overwhelming when you first get a camera and you start out, but you really quickly need to step out of auto and start using the tools provided with your camera to help you use the full potential of your expensive camera. I think I've tried to explain this in another video, like if you get a Ferrari, you will not only drive in first gear, you will of course also use second, third, fourth and so on, because why would you buy a really fast car if you don't use all of the motor power that your car provides? And this is kind of the same with your camera. And yeah, my way of learning these things has been by just trying things out that I want to explore and really by practicing by hand. For instance, if I wanted to learn to use zebras, I would try different settings for zebras and taking photos and do video, writing down what I'm doing with each click or video, and take them into my computer to compare what is going on. Because this way I get a visual understanding of what I was doing and how this affected the overall image. And yeah, we have zebras, you have exposure compensation, you have eye autofocus, you have focus field selection, you have custom keys. And these are more than just fancy terms, they are your creative allies. And before you start to grasp them, the faster you'll get a bigger toolkit to help you getting the photos that you love. And you can watch my video up here or find a link in the description about my custom settings for my Sony cameras. In this video I will take you through how I set my camera up and my thought process about this. And this was all for today's video, my little beginner's guide to how to take better photos. Of course there are plenty of other things that you can do, and you can also watch the video here at the end where I come up with some other ideas on how you can get sharper photos and improve your photography overall. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more photography insights, inspiration and tips. If you have any questions, please make sure to drop them in the comment section and I will help you the best I can. Until next time, keep that shutter clicking, boy.